introduction of new business. Is there any? No, so that's easy. Okay, and then we have, minutes of the March 21st, 2024 public meeting.
So, Chair.
Yeah, second, yes.
I had one comment. I noticed when we had the public correspondence that there were letters of thank you to the sexual assault unit from last week. And, but I didn't notice the letter of thanks to the ERU, the two Inspector Ryan Scrivens and Superintendent Scott Gilford for their excellent presentation about the emergency response unit. So I'd like to make a motion that the chair also sends a letter of thank you to those two for their excellent presentation to us about emergency response.
I will in there. Yeah, okay, you can talk. Perfect. Any opposed to that? It's carried. Okay. Okay, we have SIU investigations. We're gonna go to your wonderful famous Deputy Chief Custody, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair. Through you.
Not even a giggle. All yours.
Sorry, so through you, Chair, you have before you the report, which contains within it 3 reports from the Professional Standards Branch pertaining to investigative reviews conducted by the branch in relation to incidents that led to the SIU invoking its mandate. So each of these involves an injury or death of an individual. The first case is a firearm death. This is a case of emergency response unit officers responding to a neighborhood in the south end of the city in July of last year in relation to an individual going house to house, armed with a gun, firing firearm at somebody, striking that person, breaking into homes, etc. It was widely reported, and I know we've spoken on it here at this board as well. The SIU earlier this year cleared the subject official of any criminal wrongdoing and found that there was no grounds to support any criminal charge of the county. The review found that there was no misconduct likewise associated to the response to that incident. The next 2 pertain to in custody injuries. Both of these cases involve prisoners who either while in cells or just prior to being admitted to cells ingesting a drug resulting in an overdose. In both cases, EMS was contacted. Both were transported to the hospital. And hospital admission is what resulted in SIU invoking their mandate. In both of those cases as well, with respect to that agency's criminal investigation, they found no grounds to support the laying of charge, and our PSB review found no misconduct on the part of the subject officials. Subject to any questions, that is the report with recommendation as a board receive it for its information.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments?
So
Seconded by, I was just want to say my house there, but it's member Stevenson, and that carries. And we can now move along to the service complaint, Deputy Chief Vaseline.
I did have one comment about SIU. When we were doing our training for today's meeting on the new act, I only just found out that the SIU is an independent civilian body. All this time, I thought it was other police officers from somewhere else investigating our police officers. I didn't know if anybody else knew that, or if it was just a revelation for me, but I think that's really pretty interesting and innovative, because that's sometimes what the public is concerned about, that what they call it, the blue line or whatever they call it. And I think that's a really important feature in Ontario, that we have a civilian body actually overseeing SIU. I think that was something that was interesting to me, at least, and I suppose to a lot of other people if they don't know that already. So I don't know who did know it or who didn't, but I didn't until this week. So
thank you, Member Burnsville. And so,
I just wanted to make a comment too. In reading through these, we really, for me anyway, get a appreciation for what the service members are dealing with. And so just a whole lot of appreciation.
Thank you, members Stevenson, and any opposed behaving that carries. I think we've already carried it, but regardless. Okay, so service complaint, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, this report before you pertains to an investigation conducted by the Professional Standard Apprentice. Once again, this is our PSB, our investigators, in relation to a service complaint lodged with the Office of the Independent Police Review Director. This case involved a cyclist who was struck by a vehicle involved in a minor collision, resulting in a minor injury. The cyclist flagged down an officer. A pair of officers happened to be driving by on their way to another task, training in particular with the Marine unit. The officer stopped, checked what the individual needed, determined that they'd been involved in this collision, but were not in need of immediate care or assistance. Declined ambulance at the time, and advised that they would notify or advised her to contact a non-emergency number to be serviced. That call, she didn't make that call. That call went unserviced for about 48 hours due to call volumes and the fact that it was a non-urgent call, which ranked unfortunately lower at the time relative to other calls that were also waiting in queue. So between the high call volumes and relative low priority to call, it's said it was an officer did attend 2 days after that. Found the complainant wasn't there, left a business card, which wasn't seen by the complainant until several days later. So all in all, it took several days before the complainant was called service. Ultimately, that investigation determined that there was no deficiencies and no further action taken with respect to that. Again, as you see in the report, it is something that is highlighted in one of our, as we go forward with the implementing service delivery changes, we are optimistic about being able to move the needle on things like the service complaints received like this. Subject to any questions the board has, this is a report for its receipt.
I'll go receipt.
Okay, can I just interrupt for a second? Member Goss has a comment.
Yeah, so just wanted to turn your attention to page 2. The issue of extended response times and staffing pressures being experienced by the Uniform Patrol Division has been well documented. A strategic plan and supporting budget has been approved with the goal to address LPS service deficiencies and provide improved service to the public. No errors in the application of LPS procedures was identified in this investigation. I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm getting tired of reading that in reports, service complaints coming to the board, whether they're founded or unfounded. Majority are unfounded, but I guess I really have to ask is that, you know, we've heard for a long time that there's not the amount of resources that we need. We've now achieved that. I understand that was literally done figuratively yesterday, but and through you, Chair, to anyone on the senior command, and when are we going to start seeing improvement? When is that going to happen? Are we talking months? Are we talking weeks? Are we talking, you know, I want to get a sense because we really need to start seeing the response time. We need to start showing to the public that this historic investment is moving the needle. To take words from you, Deputy Chief. So I'll let whoever has answered that, but I really want to stress that we're seeing service complaints on the rise, and there's several reasons for that, but I really want to see these for the public, for the officers in question as well, because I've said multiple times at this board that these processes are a stress on them, and especially when it's ones that don't necessarily have merit to them, but people have to be confident in the process on both sides, both the public reporting and the members that are being subject to these complaints. So I guess, can you give me some more clarification? And I'm going to keep asking this question every time I see this as to when I'm going to start seeing this come to me less.
Chief Drone, can you respond to that?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you for the question, and Goss, it's a good question. It's and it's a concern that we're also allied to. You know, hire a new police officer. It takes about 9 to 10 months before that officer is able to be street ready after they've attended pre-OPC training, basic constable training at the Ontario Police College, and then they come back for additional training, and then they embark on field training with a coach officer. So it takes about 9 to 10 months. So I appreciate the concerns. These are concerns that we deal with every day. What I can tell you is that we're working very diligently and very hard to make the changes that we need to make within the organization. There's infrastructure changes, as you are aware, that we are embarking on. And once those changes are in place, the community as well as this board will see changes quickly. I am quite confident that there will be marked changes in the next couple months this year. You'll see some advancements, but to fully implement the service delivery model will take over 2 years just to get the officers in place and to have the infrastructure in place to support the service delivery model. But that doesn't mean you're not going to see changes until 2 years. You'll see slow changes, and we're operating quite quickly.
Supplementary. Thank you. So just to confirm, Chief, we're in obviously a public meeting and one on the record. So you're saying to us and to the public that we are going to start seeing marked changes and we're going to see improvements and that needle moving. We're talking weeks and months. We're not talking longer than that, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions? And we have a motion on the floor by, I think, member, yes.
I'll second it. I just had a comment, on the second page, the fifth finding, it talked about collisions that involved a cyclist, and hopefully we don't have a lot of those, but I thought it was interesting in here that it said that when making that phone call in, that it's important for the public to highlight that it's a cyclist so that it does get that priority. So it says here that the investigation further found that it was not reported during the complainant's initial call for service, that the complainant was a cyclist, and therefore not eligible to report the accident through the police reporting center, as would be normal practice, that the call might have been prioritized higher and dispatched in accordance with LPS procedure had this information been known. So just to highlight that to the public, that in the importance of mentioning that the cyclist was involved.
Okay, so Nance or member Branscombe and Stevenson, I think, somebody, you who moved that? I think it was Stevenson. Okay, any opposed? That's carried. And we can move on now to first quarter complaints report, mandatory or report. Deputy Chief Basti.
Sure, through you, thank you. So you do have the Q1 for 2024 report. This is, if you recall, the year end or Q4 2023 report. In that report, we had we had worked on providing the board with a little bit more visual representation for data. This would present something a little bit more further refined, I think, in terms of trying to draw the board's attention to sort of the things that the board in its policy requires to oversee and also to be meaningful. Before getting into just a real quick overview, you have the report before you, but April 1st, of course, ushered in the era of the Community Safety and Policing Act, which replaces the Human Services Act. So all of the language that you see in this report and reports that preceded it pertain, of course, to the Police Services Act. Terms that are used, and there's been evolution of the terms used even during the course of the life of the Act. Those we're dealing with a whole sort of new glossary of terms. Ultimately, what we do in terms of complaints will stay largely the same. What the oversight bodies do in terms of complaints will stay largely the same. Office of the Independent Police Review Director will become the law enforcement's complaints agency, or has become LECA. With respect to service complaints, which the board just heard about, of note, the service complaints will go to the Inspector General for investigation as opposed to as an LPSA. So just to note that the next time you see a report of this sort, it will be different again as we work towards identifying how to again provide the board with the meaningful information that it needs to receive under the framework of the new act, but also provide some context to how things were in the past. So there's a bit more specificity under the new act with respect to certain types of misconduct. I don't know off the top of my head what that list is, or how lengthy it is. It's much longer than the current one. Doesn't mean there's more ways that officers can run afoul of the code of conduct. It just specifies the types of behaviors. So more to come on that. So this report, with respect to this of course is Q1. So the numbers are of, I would suggest a limited value other than to show pretty much across the board with look at the tables in the report, whether it's complaints received by year type, the types of local discussions or the nature of alleged conduct alleged, fairly stable year over year compared to the first quarter of previous years. Of course, cumulatively with respect to trends, there's nothing to highlight here. With respect to pending investigations on the last page of the report, a couple of numbers seem quite high there, 20 chief's complaints and 16 section 32 special investigation reviews. The 20 chief complaints, this because they're pending, they could have come, they are for current year, so current year to date, but they also include previous years, anything carry over. And in the case of chief's complaints, where there's often other conduct, other matters under investigation, very often criminal matters under investigation, which take time to resolve, though that number is high for that reason. With respect to the section 32s, you see that of those 16 on that report, 3 of those were essentially disposed of during this meeting. It provided the board with its report on result of those section 32 investigations. So, and as the board may recall from the monitoring last year and certainly Q4, that the number of special investigation cases or investigations that are undertaken was unusually high last year. So this is sort of that catch up because there's the period that follows those investigations. Subject to any questions the board has, this is its report for information.
Any questions?
Go for it.
Oh, Susan, can you go?
I just had just one question, and that's on table 3. The number of other is 7, which is significantly higher. There's nothing in 2023. And then I just wondered if there's any comment there as to what the rise in other.
Sorry, I don't have, again, I don't have it today.
That's okay.
I can follow up that.
Member Go.
It's on the pending investigations on page 5, the 16 reviews versus section 32. Then just for my clarification, the SIU has invoked their mandate on those 16, right? That's correct. Thank you.
So can we have a mover to, the board receives for informational purposes, the 2024 first quarter complaints mandatory board report by member Goss, seconded by member Stevenson. Any opposed? That's carried. We can move on to suspect apprehension pursuits first quarter report. Deputy Chief Basti.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, this report has even less to tell the board than previous one, only because all we had before you was historical data that there had been no suspect apprehension pursuits through the first quarter of the year. So therefore, no damage to vehicles, no injuries, etc. So
That way.
Yeah.
any questions?
So, any questions, or can we move that the board receives for informational purposes the suspect apprehension pursuits first quarter report? Member Goss, member Branscombe, any opposed? That's carried. Okay, now we are going to move along to Crime Stoppers quarterly report. The Crime Stoppers statistics mandatory board report. Deputy Chief Bastian.
Thank you, Chair. It's for you. This is a fairly self-explanatory report as well. As you will see, the number of tips received continues to drop. So it's down another 6% during Q1 as compared to 2023. As is the value of property. Some of the other categories are up, however, including charges, cleared arrests, etc. But in terms of sheer numbers, those are down. Again, it's early in the year, but subject to any questions, or that's the report for its receipt.
A question or comment from member Ross.
So I want to expand on this a bit more. A couple meetings ago, I asked about this report and I kept asking about the downward trend. And when I continue to see downward trends, something's wrong. And I'm starting to wonder about what could we or what could the partners in this relationship, being Crime Stoppers and the LPS, be doing better to try to bring these numbers back up? Because like I'm looking at my graphs and the lines are on a sharp decline. So I guess I was wondering through you, Chair, to Deputy Chief or to the Chief, are we having consultation with Crime Stoppers? Are we talking about how maybe, I remember Crime Stoppers growing up as a kid, but the world has changed, the communication has changed, people reporting tips has changed. You don't go to the payphone anymore, social media is a big thing. So I'm just wondering if we could look at it and then with our corporate communications people as well, how can we maybe be a stronger player? And then in turn, how can Crime Stoppers maybe look to reverse this trend? Because I start to wonder, I don't want to keep seeing, what I'm trying to say is I don't want to keep seeing reports like this where the numbers keep dropping down. I'm just wondering, has there been any consultation or will there be any consultation in the future?
Through you, Chair. So we have one SWOR member who performs the role of Crime Stoppers coordinator as a liaison with Crime Stoppers for the London Police Service. Crime Stoppers, of course, is a third party to the external party. We're partners with them, however, it is distinct and separate from the police. That said, the numbers, as the person who has reported on this a few times now, has caused us to to reflect on them, to see, okay, very much like you said, Member Goss, what can be done to turn this around. In fairness to our friends at Crime Stoppers, I don't know what those things are. Some of the things you talked about is speaking with people and then engaging, whether it's corporate communications. So of course, think down the road in terms of a messaging strategy or public awareness to try to raise the awareness, the level of engagement with Crime Stoppers. To that end, just recently we have looked to set a meeting with folks, leadership at Crime Stoppers for London Middlesex to see exactly that, to have a look at our relationship. Is there something we can do? Can we leverage some of our contacts and of course our ability to engage with the community in a way that will raise the awareness of the program and hopefully increase the number of tips. In theory, of course, the more tips you get, the more opportunity we have to solve crimes, outstanding crimes. So that is, to answer your question, maybe in a succinct way, yes, we have plans to meet with leadership and explore those changes.
So can I have a supplementary just before we go to, do you want to go to you first?
Well, did you want to say something first, Chief, just to clarify something?
I just wanted to add to Chair, through you, to Deputy Chief Batchet's comments, and Crime Stoppers is a great resource, is a fantastic partner for the London Police Service, but for police services across the country. And there's a decline, and that's a great observation that you've identified, Member Ross. And just to add to Deputy Chief Bastion's comments, we have every intention, and in fact, we're looking at coordinating meeting with leadership with Crime Stoppers specifically for London. There is opportunity that we can partner more efficiently and in different ways with Crime Stoppers, because this also speaks to a bigger issue of community trust and knowledge that's in the community, right? So we know we're not going to make this city safe just by us. We have to engage the community. We have to work with the community. Community safety is a shared responsibility. So it's important for us to leverage Crime Stoppers and assist them with any public information, any campaigns out there to ensure that the public know that when they report and when they provide tips to Crime Stoppers, we are bound by the Supreme Court of Canada. There's a leading case called Leaper that we have to protect the identity, not only the identity, but the information, any information that may lead to the identity of the anonymous caller. So there's education pieces out there that we might be able to leverage in that capacity to ensure that the public has confidence that Crime Stoppers is a fantastic resource to assist in the community, but also just to remind the public and the community that there are monetary rewards leading that result from their information. So there's a lot of work to do here, and I just wanted to add to the deputy's comments and take your comments noting that there's work to do here.
A supplementary?
Yes.
And then one with motion. I guess for the public, can either through you, Chair, to the deputy or to the chief, can we kind of talk about, you kind of alluded to it, Deputy Chief Bestine, that Crime Stoppers is arm's length. Can you kind of talk about why that's important in this sense? Like you talked about, because I want to be careful to make the delineation, because you mentioned that there's an LPS coordinator that handles Crime Stoppers in-house, but can we talk about because you talked about community trust, Chief, you said that as well. So would you be able to draw that line for me as to kind of how Crime Stoppers operates, and is there an independent wall in order to protect these tips?
Chair, through you, there is, I don't know, I can't explain that system in great detail, unfortunately, here, but it's essentially a separate entity. Our coordinator works to receive the information from Crime Stoppers, disseminate it as needed within the LPS, and track, follow up, and close off files for Crime Stoppers. So it's essentially, I'm thinking in terms of back when I was dealing with Crime Stoppers tips as an investigator, you get the hard copy. I'm sure there's a different process now, but it's essentially the same where it's the outside, there's no LPS branding on it. It's a Crime Stoppers report, completely separate. No information. I know I can hear it, but I can't recite it now. It's their tagline in terms of the anonymity piece. It's more than even just being, known to the police or known to a tipster's identity known to the police, but protected from being disclosed. The Crime Stoppers operates on pure anonymity. So there's a system whereby a caller or a tipster is assigned a number. The police never get the name. We don't know who is providing the information. As the chief mentioned, there are safeguards in place with respect to the information, how it's used to ensure that, the nature of the information can't inadvertently identify somebody. So essentially, to answer your question again, there is that separate, it's completely separate entity.
So, Chair, I just want to move a motion that we that the board request an update back to this board in the Crime Stoppers update of how those conversations have gone and what you are able to share with us. Because again, I really kind of want to get a sense of what's going to be done to try to turn these trends around and see a valuable program continue to succeed in 2024. And I'm not going to put a timeline on that. I just a report back at a future meeting when they're able to.
Seconder and seconder. Any opposed, that's just carried. And we're gonna move now to,
We just had one other comment. On page 3, where it talks about the provincial offenses notices, it was nice to see the big blue column there. I just wanted to say, after there's so much focus on traffic safety and the lack of enforcement, it doesn't look like there was any in 2023. It's just nice to see that trend moving in terms of results. So I thought I'd just highlight that.
perfect, thank you. So we have,
I'd like to move receipt of public correspondence.
did we not just do that?
And we're on to the next one. For the next
For the correspondence, sir, yes, I was just gonna go through them all, Nancy.
Okay.
For members of the public, I should read them. So public correspondence, we do have a letter. We did send a letter to Inspector General Ryan Teschner, a letter to Detective Inspector Alex Kurtzman. We have sent a letter of thanks to Detective Sergeant Catherine Dan. And then we received a message from Inspector General of Police second after he came to visit us here. And we have the municipal council resolution dated April 3rd. So we have A motion to receive that by member Branscombe, seconded by member Stevenson, I think, yeah. Do we have any further comments? Any opposed? That's carried. So that was that. All right. So now we have a report by Ms. Foster on the anti-racist advisory panel. And if you could provide us with a verbal report.
Sure will. Thank you, Chair. Usually, Chair Shavar is sharing this report because he is on the panel, but he's away today. So that's why I'm bringing you this report. So the ARAP, as we call the Anti-Racism Advisory Panel, we invited expressions of interest from the Indigenous community because that is a gap on our panel currently. We have tried to fill that gap in the last 3 years, and we've had folks come for a meeting or two, and then lives got busy or other things fell into place for them. And so we actually very purposely put out a call for interest, and those are coming in already, and we will be putting those on the May 1st agenda, any that we have. And the panel will decide sort of how we go about choosing, because I think we're going to have more than we need, which is not a bad problem to have. So I'm also going to say, if anybody's listening and is interested and you haven't heard about this opportunity through other avenues, if you know of anybody that might be interested, or you yourself might be interested, if you could get your very simple expression of interest, nothing fancy, just a letter telling us, what experience and expertise you would bring to the panel, and what you would hope to get from being on the panel. And it is a really great experience and lots of good networking and information sharing. And we're basically a panel that helps to advise the board strategically on matters relating to equity, diversity, and inclusion. And then we use that knowledge to help inform our police service and support them in their endeavors in that area. We know they're doing a lot of work in that area. So if you have interest, email me, Jennifer Foster at lpsb@londonpolice.ca, or reach out. Our contact information is on the website.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Member Goff.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to Administrator Foster's comments. So I was appointed by the board last month as the second board member to be on the Anti-Racism Advisory Panel, or ARAP as we call it. And my first meeting was recently, so I just wanted to say that I did much more listening than talking. It was an unbelievable group. I really, as I expressed to them, was there to listen and really take that information back so we can make the best decisions here at the board possible. I have to say that it was a fantastic group, and in typical London fashion, I knew about 4 of the people on the committee that I either went to high school with or our neighbors or et cetera. So it's just great. There's a real excellent group of leaders on this committee, and they provide invaluable information to us. So one meeting down, several more to go. I look forward to the conversations, and I just wanted to note that I will be one of the board members on moving forward.
Move to receive the verb.
Moved by member Branscombe, seconded by member Stevenson. Any opposed? That's carried. So I'll just give a brief update in Chair Shavar's absence that we did announce recently on Thursday, April 1st, or sorry, the 11th. Our new deputy chief designate introduced her to the community, Trina McSween. She is currently a superintendent at the Hamilton Police Service, and she's going to start her new position as the deputy chief on April 22nd. And she'll be joining a team of Chief Crum, Deputy Chief McIntyre, and Deputy Chief Bastine, and we're looking forward to having her come. So that is all I have, and so in this event, I would ask that the board table a motion to receive my report. Did I do yours yet? And also
Mine can be the next one if you want.
Ms. Foster's, can we do it at the same time? Oh no, here it is right now.
I'll move acceptance of the chair's report.
Perfect. Any opposed, that carried, and then we have to move the administrator's verbal report by Ms. Foster.
Just something really quick, and member Branscombe already touched on it. I just wanted the community to be aware that the board is now under the Community Safety Policing Act, and there is various segments of training, and they were required, which they did, they completed. They were required to complete the first segment before attending and participating in this meeting. So thank you for all getting that done. And we had a very short period of time that the link was sent to us for the training, and they made it happen. So that will continue. There will be different segments that we are required to do in order to provide the civilian oversight that the board provides. So, yeah, that's my
I appreciate that.
simple little update.
Okay, great. And can we have a motion to receive that simple update? Yeah, member Goss, member Branscombe, any opposed, that's carried. We could ask that perhaps at this time, the LPA Executive Director, Rick Robson, join us to present a verbal report related to recent activities of the London Police Association. Do you want to sit down here, or there's no chair? You're all good? Well, welcome.
Doesn't seem as like much of a hot seat.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Thank you once again for allowing me a brief moment of time to address the board today. I want to talk about a couple of dates. But Sunday, May 5th is the Ontario Police Memorial. It is the first Sunday in May annually. Of note, there are actually 3 LPS members who are on that memorial. They all date back to the late 19th century. Unfortunately, we haven't had to add anybody to that memorial since then. The LPA charters us every year to take members down. We go down on the date and participate in the memorial, do a march, and come back again. I'd like to mention Father Jim is in the back of the room. There is a routine attendee at the Ontario Police Memorial, and it's greatly appreciated. I'd like to also extend some appreciation to the board. I know that the board has been recognizing every time a police officer dies in the line of duty or is on the line of duty for the last little while, and it doesn't go unnoticed. It is appreciated. I'm not certain if this is still the case, but this board was the only board in Ontario at one time that actually made a donation to the Ontario Police Memorial Fund every time a police officer lost the line of duty. So that's also greatly appreciated. The second date I want to draw to your attention, which is a little bit more intriguing perhaps, is Sunday, June 23rd. To our understanding, this will be the first ever Ontario public memorial for police officers and civilian members of police services who have died by suicide. It's it'll be the first of its kind, and it is recognizing police members who have died because of the line of duty, not necessarily in the line of duty. The only other structure that's somewhat similar is that the OPP headquarters in Orillia has a memorial structure there that they put in place in August 2021. And it was one of the first structures in all of Canada that was a memorial to the officers that they had lost by suicide. Their numbers are very stark. They have lost 40 members since 1989. The number of police officers and civilian members of police services that are died by suicide is quite alarming and also not tracked by any particular agency. So the extent of the circumstances is not really known. But nonetheless, we know it is a significant issue in Ontario and across Canada. But beyond the Blue organization, which supports families of police officers who have died by suicide and police members who have died by suicide, is the spearhead behind this particular memorial. They have a website where they have a ad hoc list, I will call it, of police officers that have died by suicide throughout the year. They have 31 members on that list since 2005. The only thing I'll draw to your attention, so we, again, the LPA will be chartering a bus to go down to this memorial. The event will closely resemble the other memorial, the memorial that's been standing since 1990, in that it'll be in the same location. There will be a separate structure at some point that will have the names of those that are honored on that memorial to come in the future. but the format of the event will look somewhat similar. Now the LPA has taken some steps to take our own initiative in relation to recognizing those officers, not only that have died by suicide, but have lost their lives in the line of duty. We have a retiree and a former member who, went to the dark side. They work with the fire department now. They create live edge pieces, and they created a live edge piece for the LPA, and it is attached to our building as a structure at the back of our building. And we thought it would be a good opportunity to have a dedication and a space there that recognizes members that are no longer working with us, no longer with us for a variety. There's a brass plaque out there, and not very practical to bring in the brass plaque, of course, but I can very quickly just let you know what is inscribed on the plaque. Okay, this place is dedicated to all members lost. This is a place to reflect, to heal, gather, to celebrate, to share. This installation is made from live edge wood. Although once a tree and the wood now in a different state, it is still with us and now serves a new purpose. We can lean on it. We can rest on it. It provides us comfort. It will remain with us and be a part of this place for many years to come. To our colleagues, our coworkers, our friends, our family that are no longer with us for whatever reason, we honor you. Please respect, honor, and care for the space. And while doing so, respect, honor, and care for yourself and each other. So I just invite you to recognize and be aware of those two particular dates and those two particular events. And if you would like any type of more information or like any feedback, then I'm here to assist.
I just wanted to ask if you have that information with respect to like where you get the bus and where the bus is leaving? No. How do we get that information?
I can share with
Okay.
Me, I'll share.
Okay, that'd be great.
We did, so through you, Chair, we didn't know about the June 23rd event, but we talked in an earlier meeting today about the May 5th event. So there is interest around the table for that one for sure, and probably the other. So if that both to me, that'd be terrific.
And where are they?
Queen's Park.
Queen's.
Yeah, both at Queen's Park.
Both?
Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Do we have any other questions or comments? No, just really appreciate you coming and keeping us up to date. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
And I think it's so important to talk about suicide because so few people do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and so at this point, we are going to receive the report of the LPA Executive Director, Rick Rose. So it's moved by Member Goss, seconded by Member Stevenson. Do you have any opposed? Did you have a comment as well, Susan? You saw your hand up. Yeah, okay, perfect. So that's carried. All right, we now have there is new business. So that's a big X. Next meeting date of the Police Services Board is on Thursday. Or Police Service Board. We no longer have an S. A minute to get used to that, but the Police Service Board, Thursday, May 16th, 2024. And at this point, we would need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Member Stevenson, Member Branscombe, any opposed? That's carried. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming. We hope everyone remains happy and healthy.
Yeah,